The government of the Republic of South Sudan has been dragged into a regional court, the East African Court of Justice, for failure to stick into a binding agreement of repaying an installment, a whopping amount of money of 1 billion or 1.05 billion US dollars. Welcome to the Concern Podcast, where we unpack political, socio-economic, and cultural stories shaping our world. I'm Emmanuel Taban. Now, the government of the Republic of South Sudan has been sued for a failure to stick into an agreement of repaying 1 billion US dollars as a debt. Now, before we continue with this video, if this is your first time watching on our channel, please don't hesitate to subscribe to this channel. Share, like, comment, and don't ever fail to hit on the subscribe button so you can get notified of more videos coming after this one. It's a way of making the channel grow, and for all of those who have been supporting this channel, thank you so much. Continue doing so. And if you're someone who is passionate about politics of South Sudan, East Africa, and the African continent, this is the right channel for you. We'll be bringing for you every time political and socio-economic issues that face our country, South Sudan, but also East Africa and Africa generally. Now, back to the purpose of this video. The government of the Republic of South Sudan has been dragged into a regional court, the East African Court of Justice, for failure to stick into a binding agreement of repaying an installment, a whopping amount of money of 1 billion or 1.05 billion US dollars. And the government has been sued by a private individual or a private company by the names of the South Sudan Supreme Airlines, which is owned by one businessman, South Sudanese, Ayi Duang Ayi. And the lawsuit has been filed by the company, that is the South Sudan Supreme Airlines, and the Pan-African Law Chambers, LLP, and it is filed in the East African Court of Justice. And the reason why the company made the lawsuit against the government is because initially the government of the Republic of South Sudan and the South Sudan Supreme Airline had an agreement of repaying back probably money that accumulated due to services provided by this company to the South Sudan government, and the money accumulated to about 1 billion US dollars. And early in February, the government of the Republic of South Sudan agreed to repay that amount in installment, and every month the government was supposed to pay about 4.4 million US dollars, and the money was supposed to be done, or the payment was supposed to be completed in 24 months time, and it was supposed to start at the end of February this year. But up to now, the government has paid nothing. There's nothing that has been paid as agreed on in the agreement by the South Sudan and the South Sudan government and the South Sudan Supreme Airlines. And for that reason, the company, through the owner, that is Ayi Duang Ayi, who is a business person, tried to sue the government of the Republic of South Sudan through the East African Court of Justice. And the court has actually secured a day for the hearing of this case, and it's going to be on the 30th of October this month in Arusha, Tanzania. The court has issued a paper to the respondent, who is the government, the Attorney General, through the Ministry of Justice, and the hearing of the case would be on the 30th of October this year in Arusha, Tanzania. And the court also said that if the government side, or if the government of the Republic of South Sudan failed to appear on that day, then the court is going to provide rulings in the absence of the government. That is what the court is going to do on the 30th. And that agreement that was made between the government of South Sudan and the airline company was done through the Ministry of Finance and Planning. And remember, this came after also a group of over 30 hotels in Juba actually filed a lawsuit against the government of South Sudan for failure to pay accumulated amount of money that was due to accommodation of officials of South Sudan government in most of the hotels and apartments. And the lawsuit, the same lawsuit was again done through the East African Court of Justice. But on this video, I want us to look at the impact of this debt on the economy of South Sudan. You know, this is not just like an easy suit. 1 billion US dollars. This is usually a very huge part of amount of money that is used every year in part of the budget of South Sudan. So if this lawsuit is done in Arusha and the courts provide a ruling that the government of South Sudan should repay back this in maybe large chunk of installment compared to the previous one, which is supposed to be 4.4 every month, or if the courts rule that the South Sudan government should pay all that money in lump sum, like at once, what could be the impact of all this on the economy of the country? One, first of all, the dragging of the government of South Sudan into the East African Court of Justice. It's going to destroy the credit worthiness of the country. So many lenders out there, could be international, even private, are not going to be trusting the government of South Sudan. And for that reason, they may not be willing to give loans, to give out loans to the government of South Sudan, because the government seems to be showing a deliberate move not to repay back these things should they give them. And therefore, this means the government is going to struggle in finding money. The country's economy is already grappling. There is no much resources, and therefore the government has to be forced to go and borrow money. But in a situation where the image of the country, the image of the government is being spoiled because they simply don't pay back loans, so this means the lenders out there, the investors, probably will have the fear of giving out their money to the government of South Sudan because they know at the end that money is not going to be repaid. That is one. But secondly, if the court also ruled that the government should actually make a repayment in a large sum of installment compared to the previous one, which is 4.4 million every month, that means the government has to be forced to either suspend the provision of social services to other priority sectors and get that part of money to repay back this debt. And therefore, this means there's going to be maybe a complete stop to provision of services in other sectors, or even a slow provision of social services because the money that is supposed to be used in one of the sectors has been taken out to repay back this debt. So this is how it's going to affect the economy of the country, or it's going to affect service delivery in the country. But also, the second impact that this loan is going to create on the economy of the country is that the government might be forced to tackle this debt issue in a way of maybe printing more money. So I know the government of South Sudan has shown this through the Minister of Finance several times that if the country got into um, a financial crisis kind of situation, they will go and reprint more money. And reprinting more money in a move to repay back this could even impact so much on the economy of the country. It's going to increase inflation because there's going to be a lot of money in circulation in the economy, and therefore you'd have to carry lots of money. Prices will increase because there's so much flow of cash in the economy, and that's going to keep increasing inflation in the country. It's going to keep increasing inflation in the country. And just like linking this issue to the recent report released by the United Nations Human Rights Commission in South Sudan, the commission stated that the government of South Sudan has actually stopped paying its debt since 2018. From 2018, the government of South Sudan has not been repaying its loan or debt because the country simply says that it has no resources to do that, and therefore that has been accumulating for quite long, since 2018 up to now. So you could imagine the amount of money that is accumulating in terms of interest uh, for the government of South Sudan. This is going to be passed down to the next government that is going to come in place, and they will carry on this burden that has been created by the current government. So yeah, that is the very negative impact of this lawsuit. So the court ruled that the government pays it back in lump sum or even in large installment compared to the previous one. And one of the most undisclosed things is that this amount of money that is owed by the company to the government of South Sudan, it's money that accumulated due to provision of social services by the airlines to the South Sudan Armed Forces. So, but the services are undisclosed. It's unknown what kind of services was this company actually supplying to the government of South Sudan or to the South Sudan Defense Forces or to the South Sudan Army. So, thank you so much. This is an overview of this lawsuit that has been filed by the South Sudan Supreme Court, South Sudan Supreme Airline against the government of South Sudan. Again, if this is your first time watching on our channel, please subscribe, hit on the notification button so you can get notified of more videos coming after this. Thank you so much. I am Emmanuel Taban, and this remains the Concern Podcast. Thank you.